Hello everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel, and today we are going to start module 4 of biology for engineers. Why module 4 now instead of module 2, module 3? Because some of my students and even in feedback also I received that most of the students are having third internal, wherein for most of them the portion is module 4 and module 5. And this weekend some of the colleges are having a module internal, third internal. Next week some of the colleges are having third internal. Most of the colleges are having module 4 and module 5. So I would like to start module 4 and 5. I would like to finish these two modules first, and then I will move to the module 2 and 3, which can be helpful for your external examination preparation or revisions. Okay. So let's start module 4. That is the module 4. We will be discussing about nature, bio-inspired materials and mechanisms. You know what I mean by this? So far, whatever we have developed, okay, it may be the flight, or it may be the aircraft or a rocket, or it may be the bulldozer, or it may be the train, bullet train, or you can take a simple example of super hydrophobicity or water repellent property. All these are nothing but they are not, these concepts are not directly come from the sky. So these all concepts are inspired from the nature, and nature in the sense bio, which is living. For example, the kingfisher bird, okay, its shape to reduce the drag in the air, so that was bio-inspired, okay, to make bullet trains, the similar structures. Same thing goes for the aircrafts or planes, which is similar which has similar structure with bird. Okay, and you can take an example of many stuffs, for example, water repellent properties, that is hydrophobic property from the lotus effect, where the lotus flower, even though it is there in a lot of dirty water, but the lotus flower will not have a single dirt particle on it. That is because of the presence of micro and nano structures on their surface, so that will have a more contact angle, so that the water cannot just slide there, but it will form, as soon as it falls, it will form a droplet, and it takes up dirt on the surface, so that the dirt will be removed. That's why we are calling it as both super hydrophobic and self-cleaning property. So this is been inspired to make up the paintings or oils or many stuff. So you can also, for example, automobile industry, the paintings, so more super hydrophobic property, which are having nowadays, the Benz, Mercedes, and these top end models and all have been used, where the water molecules will not sit for a long period of time. So all these kind of examples can be studied in this, and also kind of echolocations. For example, the birds, the animals, or especially aquatic animals, they will produce a kind of sounds waves, so that these sound waves will go and hit to the prey or food, and then it will come back. Okay, the returning waves will come back, and these returning waves are captured by these particular animals, aquatic animals, and then they will see that particular food is there, and then they can go and have it. But not only food, but also to detect enemy. Okay, all these things, these kind of animals does that. Even the bat produces the sound waves, which will go and hit to the food, fruit kind of stuff, and the returning sound waves will have the information that whether the present molecule is a food, or present thing is a food, or another animal, or a human, or anything. So it depends on the animal to animals. Imagine, this is there built in the nature. So this was inspired, this was the most of the scientists were inspired by the physics involved in this, science behind all these kind of natural aspects. So that led them to discover new things, and that's why we are right now we are able to go to even on moon and thinking of going to Mars and other stuffs, because this is all everything what we are, what we made, what we built, the humans, it is all depends, it is all somewhere it is inspired by the nature. That's why it is called your module speaks about nature by inspired materials and mechanisms. In this all are the materials mechanisms, like for example photosynthesis, we are having the photovoltaics based on that, so that we can capture the sunlight energy and produce electricity, and the way how the plant receives the particular sun energy, light energy, and produces a chemical energy like what we are having as glucose. Glucose in the cells, the plant takes it undergoes takes the sunlight, produces the fruits, all these things, and these fruits are what, they are filled with glucose molecules, right? So like in that way, and also it gives oxygen to us, it also consumes carbon dioxide, all those things we can study. This is a mechanism, photovoltaic mechanism, so it can be both materials or mechanisms, understood? So this module is going to be the very interesting module. Sit back, relax, and try to understand what I am going to explain. So the first topic, so echolocation. So introduction, as we told, echolocation, as I just gave an introduction, nothing more to explain here. So echolocation is a biological or a biotechnological process that involves emitting sounds and listening to the echoes that bounce back off the objects in the environment to determine their location, distance, and shape. So three things it will describe. You make a sound, the sound will go and hit to the particular object, and the returning waves will come. That is what you call it as echo waves. So these echo waves will have the information about the location of that object, the distance of that object, how far it is, and the shape of that object. Can you imagine? This all information will be there. So in biology, the use of echolocation by animals has been well documented from the centuries. In ancient Greeks, for example, we have observed the bats using echolocation to navigate and to find in the to find food in the dark. Now, the scientific study of echolocation in animals, however, only began in the early 20th century. So with the pioneering British naturalist, that is Donald Griffin. Now, Donald Griffin research show that the bats were using echolocation to navigate and as well as to hunt, and help to lay the foundation for the modern study of the biological echolocation. This is what what you say. You can say that usually it's basically inspired from the bats because of the Griffin's study. So in technology, the use of echolocation can be traced back to the early days of submarine warfare. So that was about biological based, that in technology where exactly it has been used. So you can trace back to the early submarine warfare. So during the World War I, the British Navy developed a primitive form of sonar that is known as ASTIC to detect submarines. So understanding here, for example, imagine the aquatic system, the war is going on, okay, you might have seen in some movies, they will use a sonar so that this particular submarine will produce a sound waves, that sound waves will go and hit to the enemy's submarine, and this particular enemy's the location, enemy's location, and as well as its how far it is, that is the distance, and also the shape, that means how big it is. All the information can be gained by this. In one of the Bollywood movie it was there, I don't remember the name, some kind of it's like it was kind of the war between India and Pakistan for Bangladesh kind of movie. So I forgot the name, but in that movie you can clearly see that. So in echolocation, we are having biological echolocation, technological echolocation. Biological in the sense from the animals or the nature, technological based on technologically what we did. So we can have a question like distinguish between biological and technological equation. Whereas biological equation, you need to speak about the biology, nature, the bats, the dolphins, or the animals, whatever we are looking for, the eco property in them. And for technological, you can look for any other thing. So it is found in first point, there are 6 points are there, we can use it for a comparison. The first point, found in various animals such as bats, dolphins, and some species of whales. this particular echolocation property. It relies on the emission of the sound waves, usually in the form of clicks or vocalizations. Okay, like clicks or vocalizations. Animals emit sound waves and listen for the echoes produced when the sound waves bounces off back or bounces off the objects in their environment. Again, discussed point. By analyzing the echoes, animals can determine the location, distance, and even the shape of the object around them. Repeated. This ability is mainly used for the navigation, hunting, and communication in the animal kingdom. So biological echolocation is a natural adoption, definitely, that has evolved over millions of years. So this is about biological echolocation. Technological echolocation. Technological echolocation, the first point, replicates the concept of biological echolocation. Definitely, your whatever biological echolocation is, you replicate it, you make a devices or a mechanism out of it. Second thing, utilizes sound waves typically generated by the artificial sources such as sonar or ultrasonic sensors. Examples. So these devices emit sound waves and then analyze the echoes which is coming from the object after hitting. Now the information from the echoes is processed and interpreted. You need to process the echoes which are coming from the object after hitting, and you need to interpret by using a lot of technologies. Nowadays the AI is coming, that is surely going to help very drastically in this particular field. So such as to find distance, location, and object which is need to be recognized. So technological echolocation has applications in various fields: navigation, robotics, obstacle detection, and medical imaging. So the sixth point, it is a human engineered solution inspired by the natural abilities of the animals. Principle of echolocation. The principle of echolocation is based on the emission of the sounds and the interpretation of echoes that bounces back from the objects in the environment. Same thing which is repeating, I am going forward, which is faster because all concept is the same. The second point again says about the technological echolocation relies on the same principle, and which is underlying to determine location, distance, and shape of the objectives by using sound waves. So this is how it happens. You have the bat which is producing the yellow light, yellow thing, the sonar, that means sound waves, which is going and hitting on the particular food for the bat, maybe some insects or something, and then it will come back in turn. This whatever the red things are there, no? These red waves, those are nothing but returning sound waves. So based on this, this bat can identify its location, its how far it is, the distance, and also its shape. Understanding. Similar thing is copied from biological to the technological, and that can be used. So this is the representative echolocation in bats and dolphins. So we have two major devices which has been bio-inspired based on these mechanisms and has been used. The first thing is ultrasonography. Ultrasonography, all of it, it's a medical devices, imaging technique where we use for high frequency sound waves to produce images of internal organs or tissues of the body. So usually ultrasonography for when to detect a baby's whether baby is moving, how much shape of the baby, what is the age, or I mean duration, the age of the baby, and we can also see the heartbeat. All those things can be done by ultrasonography. So this sonography, what it does, it will give you high frequency when you on your abdomen, so that this sound waves will go and hit to the back, hit to inside organs, and then the returning waves, whatever echo waves are there, no, that will be interpreted. Okay, the same thing again. So object is there. So you are having the particular this is how on the abdomen you will keep on scanning it, so that it will produce waves. So these are the waves which are going, sound waves, and these are the returning waves. The transducer will receive this particular thing, and then the pulse will be pulse will be generated. The time gain compensation will be there. Based on that, the clock based on the time wise, so pulse will be generated, and that will be again given back to the time gain compensation. And amplifier will receive this particular generated signals or received signals, and then image memory or scan converter that will convert it, and then finally in monitor you can see the real-time images also. So working principle, the same thing. You are having the high frequency you are using. Transducer is the device where you are having the ultrasonographic machine, which consists of the use of this particular emit and receive. For emitting and receiving you need a transducer, and here it will be done direct in contact with the skin or abdomen usually. Okay, there will be some gel, they will use it for many issues. So next, emission of the sound waves. Once it is done, the emission of sound waves will be there, that will be generated usually 200 to 18 megahertz into the body. So that sound, whatever is being emitted, that will be encountered in different tissues, organs and all, and then they will come back, and thus can be this reflection of the sound waves. That means the comeback, whatever the bounce back sound waves are there, that will create echoes. Now those echoes are nothing but that can be captured. So how we will identify these echoes, whether it belongs to what kind of structures, because every organ or a tissue in our body has got different acoustic properties. So if I am giving all these waves to the liver, so what happens, whatever I am getting, the waves back are different from the other parts of the body, because acoustic properties are different based on the density and stiffness it will work. Next, reception of echoes. So once the producer is done, then the echoes after coming, that will be received by the this particular echoes transducer, and then sends the information to the computer, so that they will process, and then finally image formation. Now the image formation, it's all about computer. So computer uses information from the echoes, then it creates the images of the internal organs and tissues of the body. Now the images are displayed on the screen, allowing the operator to see the structure and as well as movement of the internal organs and tissues. That's why the simple example is when somebody is pregnant, when they go for the scanning, they can see the baby, its shape, its size, and so for like how kind of many other things can be seen. Advantages: non-invasive, no need to do any surgery and all. It's just from the exterior. No ionization radiation, no ionizing radiation, which will be there in the MRI, CT scan and all. Radiations will be there. Here no radiations. So real-time imaging, you will see real-time imaging. It's not like you take an image now and come after 12 hours, 24 hours, then only you will get the data. Nothing like that. Real-time image. That means as soon they are scanning, you are able to see the image. Portable, it can be taken from here and there. Then cost-effective. Versatile, because it can be used for the body, different structure of the body, including abdomen, pelvis, chest, as well as the uterus, fetus and soft tissues. Limitations: limited depth, no need image, no deep images. Definitely, since these waves cannot hit inside part of the organs, only exterior images can be taken. Operator dependency, definitely operator should be there, the expertise should be there. Limited resolution, less effective at visualizing smaller structure. Why? Because it is not using any electronic beam at all, it's just a sound waves. Next, limitations in overweight patients. Why? Because overweight patients will have almost 10 to 20 millimeter of the thickness of cholesterol, or maybe more than that, even in sometimes centimeter also. So sound waves will not penetrate through this. Next, limitation in detecting some types of cancers. Okay, uses. So it has got many uses. For example, major uses in obstetrics and gynecology, abdominal imaging. We are having musculoskeletal imaging, muscular imaging, eye and neck imaging, and as well as emergency medicine. In emergency medicine, how? So emergency medicine, because sometimes what happens, sometimes accident will be there, and internal bleeding will be there. During that time, if any internal organs are bleeding, or if any internal organs are ruptured, so from abdomen only we can able to see as a primary imaging technique. So next, that was about ultrasonography. I hope you understood. Next, we are having sonar. Sonar, again same thing. It was for the sound navigation and ranging. Is a technology that uses sound waves to detect and locate underwater objects. This sonar was definitely most widely used in ships and submarines. Submarines ka example already I have given in introduction. In ships, to detect the depth of the sea. Okay, so that whether this particular ship can be movable or not. So to avoid crashes, which is kind of what happened in Titanic, right? So this particular, again, sonar will be there, the water surface. It will produce the sound waves. It will go and hit to the bottom of the sea, and it will come back, and receiver will receive that, and then that will be processed so that we can identify the location. That means how far the depth it is. Next, working. There are a lot of things. First thing is a transmitter. We know that transmitter we need. so that it produces and emits the series of sound pulses into the water. So now these sound pulses are typically in the form of high frequency, definitely low power acoustic signals known as ping. They call it as ping. Now the propagation of sound waves, they have to propagate through the water. No, they will propagate like this. So this pulse propagate through the water, traveling to the target object and bouncing back to the echoes. Target object here, either it can be the depth of the this thing, or if in the case of submarine, it is the enemies or not only enemies, any other submarines location and shape and all that can be detected. Okay, so the speed of the sound in the water is slower than in the air. That we know what is the reason, because of the pressure and salinity of the water and as well as temperature. Receiver, now what receiver will do, whatever the echoes are coming, that it will receive. Okay, and the receiver is typically placed far away from the transmitter. Why? To minimize the interference from the transmitted signal. There should not be overlap between the transmitted and receiver signal. That's why it should be kept far. Next, calculation of range. First, approximately range need to calculate how far it is. So the time it takes for the echoes to return to the receiver is used as to calculate the range of the object. So here indirectly they are taking it over how much time it is coming back. So experimentally it will be tested earlier, optimized, and that device will be used in the application. So that will come to the approximate distance. So determination of target properties. So the properties such as size, shape, and composition also can be identified. For example, a large solid object will produce a strong and low frequency echoes, while a small porous object will produce a weaker or high frequency sequence. This difference only will tell you how big object it is, what is the shape and all. Display of the results. Now the results you have, now you need to display it. So display means you need a screen. So you display it on a screen or any other output devices. Earlier stages they used to use analog devices. Now we are having the digital displays and all, allowing the operator to visualize the target object and its locations. So advantages: versatility, you can use it for shapes, you can use it for warfare, you can use it for submarine, etc. Cost effectiveness, non-invasive, no need to do any kind of surgery kind of stuff here. Real-time imaging, high resolution. Drawbacks: limited visibility. Most of the things, these things, sonar has been used in water. Visibility will be the problem. Interferences, there will be a lot of disturbances in the water in between. If you want to detect the depth of the sea, in between some dolphin comes, so there will be interference. So next, short range. Okay, so it works this thing was in a short range. Limited depth, it can't be go for the, for example, imagine there is one a big what you say in the under the sea, there is a big structure or a kind of stone, so that it will go and hit to that, and it will detect it as a that is the depth, but actually that is not a depth, but the depth is somewhere near to, next to that there is again the stuff, so that is the limited depth. Next, acoustic noise will be there. Complex technology is involved in accurate readings because of the lot of disturbances. So uses naval application, fishery, oceanography, and environmental monitoring. So photosynthesis we will discuss in the next class.